y'all? We are back with another Sunday sit down with your favorite business bestie. It's your girl, Esty Marie, and my business besties, Dr. B
Hello.
and Alicia.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, y'all. We are talking about relationships. Randy, you want to go ahead and let us know what the conversation is for today?
Absolutely. So, relationships, some of them messy, some of them not, but hopefully we learn some lessons through all of them, right? And so that could be personally, that can be professionally. So I want to start this off because we're gonna get real juicy. We're not gonna sugarcoat anything. I want to know from y'all. So talk to me. Can you describe a situation where you felt trapped in a relationship, whether personally or professionally, that was no longer benefiting you? And then what did you learn from that experience? See, we're not gonna start easy. Come on,
Dang.
we're not
You
gonna
just
start
got right into it, huh?
right into it because that's what we're gonna
Oh
do.
my.
Coming
Dang,
for
where you feel trapped?
Where you
I
felt
might
trapped.
have to think
Well,
a little
while
bit.
y'all thinking, I'm gonna start because I was actually saying my last relationship was where I felt trapped, and it wasn't even trapped by the person, and it was a personal relationship. It was more trapped by my comfort. So for me, and I tell people this, and anybody that knows me knows, I say I settled for mediocrity. I stayed in a relationship because it was comfortable, not because I was happy. I was actually towards the end of it, I was quite miserable, and I stayed because it was comfortable. And I had to think about, if I leave this, am I gonna be alone? Is it gonna be just be me? Like, is somebody else gonna love me? But at the same time, I'm like, but I didn't love myself if I was sitting here taking this space. So what I did learn from that is, again, maintaining my status, my expectations, for myself and for that other person. And when that person falls below it, it's okay to walk away from it and not be comfortable in the discomfort, right? And so, I learned not to be miserable and not to settle for mediocrity. So that was the lesson that I learned, is recognizing the signs when the relationship goes left, and responding to it rather than sitting in it.
Hmm.
Boom. Give y'all some
Whew.
time. Let's go.
So you talking about trapped, man. Okay. So my experience. I was in a relationship for off and on for so long. It was almost nearly 2 decades. And so the biggest thing that I learned is when it's off. And so sometimes like we try to come back and think that we're gonna jump back in to the parts in which it was good, right? But when you're off, there's some work that needs to be done. It needs to be done independently from the both of you, right? And then there's some work that needs to be done collectively inside of that relationship. And so I think not doing the work definitely together when you come back, and if you just try to take off where you left off from, or you try to per se like rewind to like the good parts, like that does not work at all. I'm here to tell you, because people grow, right? And so when you are growing and you are evolving, that needs to happen personally, and it needs to happen within your relationships. And sometimes when you're in a relationship for a long time, especially when you are younger, people expect you to stay the same, and they don't factor in that we all change, we all evolve, and our experiences bring about lessons, right? And so those lessons can sometimes keep us from being the best that we can be for ourselves. And so when that happens, you can't be everything for somebody else, right? And so when it's like that, you got to get rid of it. I say throw it away. Like all that back and forth, coming back together, putting it back together. No, that's for the birds. Throw that away. Once we say we on a break, it ain't no break up. Work on yourself.
It's broke.
Yeah, actually work on yourself for real. Explore your options, because that's the thing. lots of times when relationships end and people are bitter, they're not bitter because they want you back. They're bitter because you wasted my time, or I lost out on some opportunity costs. There was some other people I could have, been entertaining,
And I'm
or
these with, right?
yes, I could have been doing something else. So it's not that I want you back. I'm just upset at myself because I wasted so much time. I don't know what you think, Esty.
So, since we are here, um, before like you end up trapped in a relationship, I would say the most important thing to do is work on yourself before even entering in. And sometimes there are things you don't realize and you don't know. Like for myself, I realized that I had some things going on the inside of me that I didn't even know were there. And they were triggered by things that were said to me. And in
Mm.
that process, it was like an out of body experience. I stayed in a relationship that I knew I had no business being in for
Mm.
5 years to prove a point.
Yep.
To prove a point
To prove a point.
that didn't need to be proven. But
That's when we take those L's, though, trying to prove a point,
Prove
trying
a
to
point.
prove other people wrong, and you taking
so
those L's. Mm-mm.
so stuck trying to prove a point that I knew from the beginning it wasn't gonna work. But because I was so angry, I said, nah, we gonna do this. We gonna make it work. We gonna figure it out.
Right.
And when I had my opportunity to get out, I stayed because I said if I leave now, then that means this person is right. And I'm not ready to let them be right. So we just gonna figure this out. We figure this out and that's what it's gonna be. And I stayed for 4 more years in something I knew I had no business in. And in that process, I learned that it had everything to do with the internal hurt that I never dealt with, that was
Mm.
suppressed, that I completely and totally tried to ignore and just live life like I wasn't bothered. And we can't do that because if you do, then you end up in situations where you're settling for things and you're allowing yourself to be treated in ways that you have no business being treated. Like we deserve the best. And when we suppress things, it allows us to then stay stuck because you're trapped in that moment where you were hurt and you're trapped in that hurt. So that's why healing is so important before entering into any type of relationship because once you're healed, then you can begin to come together with somebody and begin to, evolve and grow. But broken
Right.
broken people
Right.
together don't work.
Right. Broken people come in fragments and we not whole. And you gotta be whole in order because a lot of times people look for relationships to fill them, to fill those holes, right? But no one can fill those holes. That's that healing process, right? And both of you, I think all three of us actually kind of mentioned something. And it taps into, we're gonna sit here for a little bit, that personal stuff, right? Those demons that we're fighting internally, a lot of those relationships. So what do you think contributed to you staying? So I know Esty talked about basically, being stubborn, kind of getting that ego in the way. But let's kind of dig it a little deeper. What do you think was the thing, right, that kept you there? Like I said, for me, I think part of it was the ego, right? For me, it was the ego, but it was also the fear, and that's because I wasn't yet okay with being by myself, right? And so that meant that I was not okay with who I was because that means I had to sit with who I was by myself. And if I had this distraction, I didn't have to deal with my own personal healing, right? And so, I want to ask you all, And I see Cassandra say broke people break people, and she's absolutely right. And feel free, I know you talked about you got too many things to add to this, add them, girl, because we're going to talk about them. So, add it to the chat. We'll definitely read them out. But what do you guys think was the thing that kept you in this relationship, even though you consciously and logically knew, because we're not stupid, you consciously and logically knew you shouldn't be here, but what was the emotional tie that kept you there?
Children. Folks like to use that excuse. Let's go ahead and get into it. Children. A lot of times when you are, and that's for me, right? Because I know that you two don't have biological children. So I'm the mom of the group, but children. So a lot of times we try to give our kids the things that we did not have. Whether that is to a two-parent household, we try to give our kids the financials that we didn't have, all of these things that we didn't have, but you forget that the things that you didn't have, it made you into who you are, right? And so it's not necessarily a bad thing when you are saying, like, I want my children to have what I didn't have. That's not necessarily a bad thing if they don't have what you had. I am a proponent after life experience, right? I'm a proponent of taking care of myself first. I no longer do things for the sake of my children, putting my children first. And people can disagree with me every single day, and that's okay. Because when you do things for the sake of your children, you do end up neglecting your own happiness, your own well-being. And then later on, these kids grow up and they have their own lives, and you've been doing things for the sake of them. And then that's how you end up with couples who get divorced or they separate after their kids leave the nest. Like, if it's been over, it's been over, and that's okay. It's okay. I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago. It's okay to leave something where it is for the sake of preserving the relationship, right? So I told you guys, like, the longer you stay into something and you should have been out of it, you should have left a long time ago, there's regret, there is remorse, there is, oh my goodness, I missed out on so many opportunities. And when you start doing things for the sake of children, you lose yourself. I know so many people who are in a relationship and they are not happy, but they want their kids to experience a two-family household. Kids are not slow. They know y'all don't get along. They know y'all don't love each other. They don't even see y'all kids. They don't see you guys hug. It's no pleasantries. So you think that you're standing for the kids, and the kids are hoping y'all to can y'all just put us out of our misery? Like, and then most of the times you will find that your kids are happier when you are happy. So when you go your separate ways, then you will see, okay, mommy is much happier now, or daddy is much happier now. Yes, because you start to prioritize yourself. So I tell all mamas, all daddies, like, if you are not happy, if a relationship is no longer serving you, you stand for the kids is an injustice for yourself, and it's an injustice for your children, because they actually see what's going on. They are very intuitive, and they feel and they know, and you are doing more damage to your children by staying in something that's not working. Everybody's miserable. What you think, Esty?
You're right. And Cassandra put in the chat, you're teaching them how to live in misery. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, they repeat cycles. So you're training them to stay in something that they're not happy in. And this can go one of two ways. Like, they'll either learn from you and say, okay, even though I'm not happy, I have to stay in this situation. Or it could go the complete opposite way, and they will be like, I'm never getting in a relationship, because they're watching you and they're like, well, I see how this is affecting you and you're not happy. What do I want to do that for? And it can go one of two ways. So I definitely agree with that. And I know for me, it was definitely the stubbornness. What caused me to say, your girl is stubborn. Okay, I'm stubborn, I'm hard head, and I just had to be right.
Right.
No, I knew I was wrong.
Mhm.
Right. Had to be right or just didn't want to admit to being wrong, right?
That part, I
One or
didn't
the
want
other.
to admit it. I was just so like, "Nah, I'm not about to admit this. I'm not about to have to call my dad and be like, yo, you were right. Like, I'm not doing that. Nope. Mm-mm.
Mm.
So we just gonna sit here and figure it out. Okay.
The
Yeah.
pride
Isn't
gets in
it
the way
interesting how we will suffer just for the sake of pride?
and ego.
Yeah.
Pride and ego will make you suffer something unnecessarily, right? And it's by choice, right? Because again, I said we're not dumb. We logically and consciously know that what we are sitting in is not okay. And a lot of times we choose it because we don't want to be wrong or we don't want somebody else to be right, right? And so in those times, so we found, you figured out how to kind of get there, to that point. How did you communicate, or how do you typically communicate your needs when something is no longer benefiting you, or when something is no longer fulfilling or filling your cup? Again, that could be personally or professionally. When that relationship is no longer benefiting you, how do you express that?
You got to take a diagnostic test. No, for real. Like you take your car to like, okay, I'm hoping we do, right? I take my car to the dealership. That's the only person, the only people that touch my car. It's the people in which my car was manufactured from. They touch my vehicle. And I need a diagnostic test to tell me what's going on with the vehicle because it's making noises, And so those noises are being brought to my attention. And so when you're in a relationship, it's certain little things that's happening. You like, nah, that didn't sit well with me. You got to take all of that in. And when the 1 plus the 1 start equaling 11, it's time to go. Okay. Put them 2 ones together. It's like, And so that diagnostic test is very important. You have to check in with yourself and say, hey, like, how is this making me feel? I like to check in with myself first because I need to make sure that I'm balanced and I'm just not emotional because I'm a hothead. Okay. I'm a fire sign. I'm an Aries. I'm a big hot head. And so I can jump off the porch real quick from 0 to 100. And so I need to check in with myself and say, okay, like, are you tripping? Or, is this really a big deal? Or is it that your way of communicating or the way you did something, did it trigger something within that person? I have to check in with myself. And then once I check in with myself and self tells me it wasn't me, then I'm having a conversation with you. And I'm like, hey, this is how I'm feeling like, and I just want to do a diagnostic test, like, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts about this? And so I prefer to have that back and forth dialogue. If you don't have nothing to say, that tells me everything that I need to know. And we're going to have a problem. I'm going to reflect on it, but I'm going to be wondering why you don't have nothing to say, why you don't have anything to contribute to the conversation. Because quietness is a sign. I'm gonna say it again. Quietness is a sign that something ain't right. I remember being in the school system and sitting in those PLC meetings.
Uh-oh.
Everybody knew when it was something wrong when I was quiet. They would be like, uh-oh, wait a minute. Miss Ashford, you quiet. Why are you not saying something? Because something wrong. Like, I don't know. It's like, for real. And so for me, doing that helps me to know, like, check myself if self is at fault, or to have the courage and the vulnerability to go to my partner to say, hey, something is not right, and this is what it has triggered in me. Like, I need some feedback. Let me know. Or was it something that I did? And so that's how I handle it.
Mm-hmm. Silence can be so loud.
Mm. Absence too. Cassandra says absence is a sign too.
Yes.
I mean, if you absent, you silent for sure.
That part.
What you got, Esty? What do you have to add?
Silence is definitely is a sign. I remember in college days, I had roommates, and there was a time in which I was the only one with a car, and everybody was hopping in my car so we could get where we needed to go. But people had issues with me, and they wasn't talking to me, but getting in my car,
Mm.
riding in silence. And so I'm like, you know what? Eventually, we just had I had to go on ahead and have this conversation. Like, what is up? Like, what is going on? And it turns out that there was an offense there from something that wasn't even like a complete and total misunderstanding. And it's like, had you just asked me to begin with, I could have settled that for you
Right.
and I could have clarified that. But the fact that the silence had gone on, I mean, it went on for days. And I'm like, all right, we're not gonna keep having this, like we getting in my car and nobody's talking to me. Like this is just weird.
Word.
You
You
ain't
know,
getting out, Anstey.
girl, you
You
could have
didn't
come to the
get
bus
out.
stop or go up the street.
I'm not a cab service. I'm not, because you said back in college, so Uber wasn't there. But I'm
Uber
not a
wasn't
cab service. Like, no, ma'am, no.
You know,
You're not getting
what's
my
his
car and
name?
saying nothing to me.
We had to go on and have that conversation. But it took me to have the courage to just finally say something. Like you know, you don't want to be the person who says something first, especially like if you're introverted like me and you're just like, okay, I don't like confrontation, so we just gonna figure this out. I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like to have it, but you know, should it arise and we just have to take it there, it will go there. But I try not to be in those type of situations.
I
So
already told you about this trio, what that would look like. Just saying.
I try to the best of my ability to just, be cool, be chill. And so it took me a minute to say something where I was like, okay, we just let me go on ahead and say something because this is not
Because they burning your gas.
That's right. It's the using for
Right.
me.
That's
Like
the using part right there. Because they not
it's the
talking to you, but just
using.
in your car. I'd be
Mm.
like, excuse me, you got to be able to talk to me and get in my car. Like this is not a one or done. Because Sandra was like, silence is golden, but duct tape is silver. So when that starts to go through her head, she's like, it's time to go. I'm like, yes, because crimes and stuff, you don't get freedom behind those bars. And beds are small and hard. We don't want them. But in
But you
hindsight,
know what? That makes me think though. So like I am very vocal, right? I told you I
no,
jumped off the porch.
not at all.
Just like you are like quiet, right? You like you said, you don't like confrontation, you don't like conflict. But y'all, sometimes conflict is necessary. Okay? Sometimes it's necessary.
She is mad for you. She is mad for you. She is mad for you. She ready to fight him too. But
No, but seriously, sometimes it is necessary because you think about it. We're talking about relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
If both of us don't like conflict or we don't like to be in disagreement with one another, right? Then things are not going to change because if I'm not going to say anything and you're not going to say anything, that's how people end up staying in something longer than which, they may have anticipated. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you got to be the person that's like, listen, I know that I don't like conflict, but I have to get these things off my chest because you have to do things that's for you. And like you said, Esty, it took you a little minute to say anything, but just think about it. You didn't say anything. Would they have been still riding in your car and not talking to you?
using up all your gas. Back when gas was people there,
Now, granted, gas back then was like 99 cents a gallon, $1.17, but still, it was your gas.
A college student, that's still expensive. Shoot.
This is true.
And the more people you have in your car, the more gas it burns because it's heavier. I know.
True.
My little Honda Civic was pushing,
All right.
okay? My little 88 Honda Civic was pushing, so I know. So, do you think now, in hindsight, is there anything, and it could be the ones you just use as examples or something else, is there anything that you would have done differently other than leave? Because I would have left earlier. Would have done differently in that experience. Yeah. Like now that you can think about it, dealing with that relationship that was no longer serving you in hindsight, aside from I would have just left earlier, even what would be like that personal diagnostic test or whatever it is, what is something you would have done differently in hindsight?
I would have paid attention more to the other person.
Mm.
I would have paid more attention, and I think I probably would have addressed the silence or the disagreements or the lack of whatever was going on. I would have addressed it earlier and paid more attention to what that person was doing, their behaviors, right? Because we all have our behaviors. I'm a reader. I love to read. If I am not reading, something is going on. Like either I got a lot on my plate and I might be stressed, because I like to read for entertainment. It's like one of my favorite pastimes. If I am not in doing things that I normally do. If I'm not dressing up, I like to dress up. I like to look nice. I like to buy clothes. I like to go out. I like to have a great time, not out to the club, but out. I like to go on outings. And so when you start to notice that the relationship is not going in a place that is beneficial to the both of you, you will start to notice the habits of the other person if you pay attention, because they're no longer doing the things that make them, right? Or they like, because I don't want to say this, but when people stop like taking care of themselves, like physically, like, okay, a guy stops getting his hair cut, he stops getting, his linings and stuff. Like he's not looking as crisp as he used to look. And women, we start wearing big baggy clothes, or I'm just wearing jogging pants around the house, or I'm not really going anywhere or doing anything. I'm not going and being out with my friends. Those are signs that something is wrong. And so I think back then, and even in like my most recent past relationship, like there were signs that were there. And so like if you're not paying attention to it, then you're going to miss out on the non-verbals that they're giving you, that they are miserable. That's on both sides, yourself and the other partner. So that's what I would do differently. I would pay attention to their behaviors. What is changing? How are they not being themselves? And I would check in with them to say, hey, like, are you okay? Like, I've noticed some things have changed about you. You're not doing the things that you're normally used to doing. Like, what is going on? Like, are you, because some people could be grieving the loss of whatever. It could be a loss of themselves. It could be a loss of family members. Could be a loss of something that has happened and has transpired within their life, right? Or it could be that they're not feeling you like that. And so you need to know that. You got to ask these questions. What would you do? Oh, yeah. What would you do differently?
Ooh, let's see. I would definitely say I wouldn't ignore the signs, because all the signs were there. And we see the signs, but we think we can love somebody out of being who they are, or hurt somebody out of being who they are.
Drop the mic.
When somebody shows you who they are, you got to believe them.
Right.
Like, there's no way around it. And all the signs were there from the beginning that this thing ain't gonna work.
Right.
Like, we definitely made great friends, and we would have made great business partners, because there's like things that we could have done together, amazing. However, that relationship, when it turned more personal than business, all the signs were there from the beginning. So it's just a matter of not ignoring the flags. Like, you see the flags, don't ignore them.
And looking at the reality and not the potential.
Yeah.
Right. looking at what's in front of you and not what you are hoping it will be through rose-colored glasses, right? Because we create these stories. We see a hint of something. It's like just turn that up. But and we talked about this 2 weeks ago as well, right? In terms of we are creating in our minds something they don't have the capacity to be. And so we have to acknowledge, I know that was deep, right? I'm glad this is recorded. I'm gonna have to get that later. Like we have to acknowledge that, and that was my problem too, is I was hoping for this person to fill the cup of capacity, even though they didn't have it to fill with. They didn't have it. And like you said, I was creating in my head what I wanted it to be, rather than looking at what was literally right in front of me, right? With that person who we could sit in the same space and have no conversations, right? You could walk in, I say hi, you say hi, and you spend the rest of your day in a separate room from me, right? And that was my life. That was my life for a good year. And it was miserable, right? Mm-hmm. And then you tell the person, we communicate your needs, and then that person adjusts for a day or two, and then goes back to the same habits, right? So again, there's potential, but this person didn't have the capacity to do what I needed them to do. They didn't have the capacity to fill my needs. And I didn't see that, right? I'm like, oh, well, I said what I needed to say. He did it for like this small amount of time. So the potential is there, but it wasn't, because that was actually outside of what was his norm. That was outside it. He couldn't do that. He only did it because I asked him to. So I had to accept that. Exactly. So I had to accept for myself that this is all you got. And you know what? That is okay for somebody, but it's not okay for me. It's not okay for me. This may work for somebody, but like you said, I deserve more. I deserve greater, right? And so I don't need to sit in what, again, everyone that knows me and that's watching this that knows, I don't sit in mediocrity anymore. Like, we are too badass to be accepting mediocrity, right? And I had to know that for myself. Like, I had to love myself to be like, girl, what is you doing? Like, what are you doing? And why are you sitting in this when this is not who you are? Like, this is not what you do. So,
sometimes, going back to what Esty said, sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes you're in a relationship and you're being used.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are in a relationship with somebody who needs a roommate. Sometimes you're in a relationship with someone who needs a good credit score. Sometimes you're in a relationship with someone who needs to learn how to be a parent, and they trying to be a parent to your kids, but they're not worried about their own kids at the other house, in which where their kids stay. So sometimes, and you have to be real with yourself. That's why that diagnostic test is so important, and you not sitting in something, because you are absolutely right. Somebody can be something for someone else and not you, because if they wanted to, they would, right?
That part.
And so if they wanted to, then it wouldn't last for just a day. It wouldn't last for 2 days. They would be trying to find out, what can I do to make this right? And they would actively work on themselves so that the behavior becomes a lifestyle. And that is the biggest thing. So a lot of us are in relationships and you don't even know, or you are oblivious to the fact that that person don't like you like that.
Right.
That's why they're not doing the things that you would love for them to do. That's why they can't be the perfect mate for you. That's why they can't be the perfect business partner for you. That's why they can't be your friend, because they don't like you like that. But you got something in you that they like and they need, and they can't get anywhere else. So guess what? They're going to hold on to you as long as you allow them to. So check in with yourself. Make sure that that relationship is working for you, because if it's not, and chances are, listen, if it ain't working for you, it ain't working for them most of the times. But neither one of us want to say anything because we are comfortable. We are complacent. Or just like you using me for my credit score, I might be using you because you can cook. And when I get home from work, you cooking for the kids and you doing all that. And I'm like, girl, it's too many men out here who can't cook. So I got my personal chef in there. He gonna whip up some stuff. He gonna make sure these kids is eating real good because I'm tired when I get off or what have you. But a lot of times we really have to pay attention to our behaviors and what we are giving out. Because usually if somebody using you using them too, especially if it's no romance, it's no finance, it's no whatever the manses are, okay? So we gotta be honest about the situation. If they don't like you, they don't like you. Go find you somebody else who does like you or like yourself and be by yourself. I have no problem being by myself at all because I like to raise my kids the way I like to raise them. I don't need nobody else's opinion on it. I don't want me going to church, you staying at home. I don't want me being a breadwinner, you being a bread loser. No, none of those things.
The bread eater.
I like to impart whatever I want to impart on my own children. So I'm okay with raising my kids by myself. I've been doing it for a long time and it works for me. So just figure out what works for you. Do you keep yourself number one? Because if you're not happy, nobody else is going to be happy. And then go from there.
That part right there was key. Like, and you both touched on it. Loving yourself first. Like, that has to happen because there is no relationship that is going to work, whether it be professional or personal, unless you are loving yourself first. Because people treat you the way you teach them how to treat you. If they see you not taking care of you, if they see you not worrying about you, why should they? You're not even worried about you. So why would they be worried about you and your feelings and your concerns? Because you are putting yourself last. So if you last on your own list, why should I put you first on my list?
Right. That's your first relationship right there. Is what
very much your first relationship. We are supposed to love others as we love ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So how you love yourself is how other people are going to love you.
Right. And it also teaches other, like, it once you love yourself, then you know what not loving you looks like, right? Because until you love yourself, you don't know when you're not being loved or treated right, because if you don't treat yourself right, if you don't take care of yourself, you don't then know what it looks like when somebody else is neglecting those things, right? And so until you know who you are and love yourself and treat yourself right, you now establish what the rules are, what the expectations are, what the response of you want to come in, you see what I do. So understand that if you want to jump in on this, you can't go anywhere below this. Like this is the standard.
Right.
Go below the standard. So Absolutely. If you are willing to minimally meet me at this standard, let's rock. If not, you go ahead and rock on with your bad self. Like go, right? Like you go that way.
Out of the line, sir. Right, let somebody else get in the line. You don't know what you want at the counter. You got to get on out the line. Go on to the back.
Now you stop in traffic. We got other people. Come on now. Come on.
That's hard. Don't mess up my perspectives, honey.
Okay.
So like now, and again, we kind of go back in hindsight, sort of, and it's actually just kind of segued into it. Now that you've had those experiences, right? How is your approach different, or how is your perspective different after experiencing those things in terms of like the next one, right? What's changed? What like I said, I just talked about, you got to come at this standard. If you don't, you need to, go ahead and go. Yeah. What has changed for you after that experience in your approach?
It's no longer, they got potential. What? No, forget potential. You got to come whole, healed. Hopefully you went to some therapy or you didn't talk to somebody or something. You've done the work that you needed to, right? You've done that shadow work. You've taken care of and have loved and healed that little person inside of you that didn't get whatever it is that they needed, right? So I prefer, and not taking nobody else who does not come to me whole. That's number one. Number two is that I no longer do things for the sake of doing them, right? Mm-hmm. So I told you guys, like, I'm a single lady. I'm not doing no bid with you. I done did almost 30 years.
No, a bid.
A bid is 3 to 5. I'm not being in a relationship with you from 3 to 5. No 3 to 5 years. If you don't know what you want within that first year and a half, deuces, buddy. Like, no, we're not doing that.
You said a bid, but I feel you though.
You wasting my time. Why are you wasting my time? I'm too old to get my time wasted. I don't need you having potential. I don't need you wasting my time. And you need to have your finances together. We are too old. You see what I'm saying? To not have your finances together and to be a family person or a family. You have to have values, is what I'm saying. Your values have to be like really, really high, and they have to align with my values. You have to have integrity, and your integrity needs to align with my integrity. Okay. And so then we're equally yoked. So you come equally yoked, we can talk. You don't, get out the line. Let somebody else get to the counter and place their order, because you don't know what you want. Okay.
You don't know the menu right now. You need to go there.
You don't know the menu, okay? And we got a handheld. You should have did your research. You should have known what you wanted before you came to the counter, sir. You still up here talking, let me get, and then you want to say, well, how much is how much? Either you want it or you don't. Pay for it or get out the line.
Oh gosh, she is hilarious. Yes. How you gonna follow that?
Oh. How can I follow that? But I mean, she touched it head on. Like, at this point in the game, we have to be equally yoked. Whether that is professionally, like, you can't be trying to hustle people and I'm trying to give them top quality service. Like, it's got to be equally yoked on all fronts: personal, business, profession, all of it. It all has to be equally yoked. Like, the alignment has to be there. We have to value the same thing. We have to be able to communicate. Like, literally, I need to be able to talk to you about anything and not feel like you're gonna judge me or feel like you gonna take this and the whole world gonna know about it in about 3 years. Like, I don't need none of that in my life. At this point in the game, can I trust you? Are we equally yoked? Are you coming correct? You got to come correct.
And let's be clear, that's all relationships, because everything you just labeled, like, I've had conversations, actually, like Alicia and I just had this conversation. But like that could be your friends, right? We not gonna, if your values are on the dollar menu at McDonald's and not on Capitol Grill's menu over there, then we not equally yoked, right? Because you can't be having and I love it, but we're not gonna have no Canva template values. You need to come all the way through and have what you are supposed to have. If you are not, I'm sorry, even friends, professional, if you are not financially stable, you're not going to be like, you're not getting my credit score. Don't ask me to co-sign nothing for you. First of all, I co-sign nothing for nobody because my mama taught me that. My mama taught me that, right? But like we grown ass women.
Yeah.
We are grown up. Like, there are certain expectations of what you need to have at this level. Like, at this level, okay, you may not work a 9 to 5, but what are you doing, right? You have to be doing something, and you have to, I realize for me, if you are not, drive is a thing for me. I had to learn it in that personal relationship as well. If you are not coming and constantly trying to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday, then we are not equally yoked. And so that is something I had to first learn that for me. I was like, well, what do I like? My girl, she actually helped me realize this. And part of it was, well, what do you value? Right? Because you just go every day and you're just like, yeah, I do this. But really sitting down and putting into sentences what your values are, you do them every day. But in order to judge whether somebody belongs in your circle, you need to know what they are concretely. And that was something I had to do for myself, is to identify the values that I hold so that I can identify whether or not this person needs to be in my space. No matter what that looks like, personally, professionally, in a intimate relationship. Like, if we can't laugh and joke, and sarcasm is a love language, and one of my girls is on here, she'll probably type in the message and agree, because we've agreed sarcasm is a love language. Like, if you get sensitive and you get your feelings hurt real easily, we're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. Because I'm sorry, I'm a complete fool. Anybody that knows me knows that, and I'm gonna drop a joke real quick. If you offended easily, don't come by. But like, we need to know what our values are and what that represents, so that no matter what those relationships are, if we're not equally yoked, you need to crack that egg and keep moving. Like, let's go.
Definitely.
Okay. So in these relationships, right? Because we joke about it. Alicia was about to come through the Zoom when you were talking about you was letting these people ride in your car, burning up your gas, but they weren't talking to you, right? And so, what do you think? How do you manage the like emotional impact of being in these relationships that are no longer beneficial or positive for you?
Rituals. Rituals. I think you have to have rituals, right? So a ritual is something that you do routinely, right? And so for me, the game changed when I like stepped all the way into my spirituality, and I began to do those rituals that I do and have communion with my ancestors and talk to God, and like doing all of those things that built me up and like put some substance inside of my soul. And so like when things end, I always go back to that. But let me say that. No. When things end, like I'm okay because I have my rituals, because I'm not stopping what I do because we are in a relationship. That's another topic for another time, because some of y'all get in these relationships and y'all stop being yourselves.
Yep,
and then you wonder why somebody don't like you. Is because you're not being yourself. You're just being who they want you to be. And so for me, I continually do the things that make me me. I just turn it up a little notch because I might need some extra TLC. And so rituals are big for me. I take baths, that a cleansing bath, when something is ending in my life. I make sure I keep my home clean. I make sure, I'm doing my prosperity work. I make sure that I'm doing all of these things to clear the energy in my home. Yes, I'm the one with the sage and the incense going around, making sure your spirit is not lingering in my home. When you walk in my home, you cannot wear your shoes. I don't want them spirits from the outside inside of my home. So for me, getting back to myself, or continually like working and doing the work that has sustained me and making sure the energy in my home is clear, that is my process. It works for me. And oftentimes, my routines get rid of them anyway. If you ain't supposed to be in my space. So.
There you go. If they can't handle it, they're not meant to be there.
Absolutely. You might come to my house and trip up the front steps, and then I know I'm like, oh, Mama Mac, she went ahead and tripped you. You can't come up in here. Yeah, we're gonna have to meet somewhere else, because
you're not allowed in here.
Man, you almost got taken out coming up the steps, bro. Like this, no. Something about you ain't right. My mom Mac just tripped your behind, okay? Paul Mac probably behind her. I don't know what's going on, but you can't come up in here, okay? Disturbing the peace in my home and stuff.
Oh shoot. Esty, what do you got?
Oh. I was looking at Cassandra's comments. She said, "Can't live life as a chameleon, changing to meet every environment." Yes, it's so true. For me, definitely, I have to take care of me, like taking care of me, taking care of who I am, making sure that I am focusing on what is making me happy, making sure that I am in my prayer and in my meditation and really speaking to who I am first. That's really what helps me to navigate through these situations. Like I told y'all, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Like I don't know if it was that one or the other one before, but we talked about like my whole life transitioned um, at a very crazy time. It's like everything happened at once. My circle just got real small. My mom was gone. Like all these things were happening. And the thing that was helping me to get through all of that was being able to have my time of prayer, have my time of meditation, have my time of being creative and being in my creative space and being able to release those things because we have to release the traumas and things that are stressing us. Like you can't just hold all that stuff inside. You have to have a way to release it. And so that really is what helped me.
Okay. I mean, I think for me, similarly, um, for me, what I've learned as well as I write. Well, people, I like I write. I've always written. I don't. I usually write when the emotions are too much. Um,
Mhm.
I'm a thug, but I be in there crying and writing at the same time. But part of that is also a conversation. It is a conversation with God, and then it's like why, and then I'm asking all these questions, but then I'm also writing it out. And a lot of times I just go silent, like it's all in my head, and that's why I have to write because it's all in my head.
Yeah.
Um, but I tend to go silent, and that's me processing. I am a processor, so like I'm processing what I'm thinking. I'm processing the emotions, and I'm processing how the hell did I get here. But then how do I get out? Right, going through, and that's part of that. We kind of reflect on that diagnostic test, right? Like the signs were there, Brandy, but then also giving myself grace, right? Like it's a whole cycle, like being able to forgive myself for doing that, right? Because we get on ourselves and be like, oh my God, well, you knew better. Like, well, what did you do this for? And blah, blah, blah. But giving myself grace and forgiveness because, part of my part of the thing that I always say is I wouldn't be who I am today if those things didn't happen. Right. And that's just that's in other things, right? Like
Mhm.
even in friendships, like I would not be the friend that I am today. And I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty good at it. I can actually say that, right? If I didn't learn from the mistakes I made back in the day. Because I can consciously admit I made some mistakes as a friend back in the day that I know um helped me to be where I am today because I learned how to correct the path, right? I learned that, when you upset, because again, fire sign, another Aries, back in my day, I would say any and everything, and I didn't care what it did to you, right?
Mm.
But then I wanted to maintain that relationship, right? Because when I'm done, right? I'm like, all right. So how's your day, right? I'm gonna cut you deep, but then I can't just be like, expecting you to now just feel like, okay, that's good now, let's go, right? Because I had to learn. I'm learning. I learned, okay. I learned that if I want to preserve the relationship, I have to be more mindful and careful of my words because once they come out of your mouth, you can't take them back, right?
Yeah.
And so I have learned to give myself space and time. And so I've learned to be able to say, give me a day. And that day
Mm.
is for me to process
Mhm.
and go from emotion to logic so that I can still get out what I am feeling, but in a way that does not damage the relationship. If I care, right? If I don't, I can't promise you that. But if I care enough and I cared about the relationship before we got into an argument, I am now going to allow myself the space to go back into my logical brain because my emotional brain has taken over and it's a little rowdy up in there sometimes. And so, I've learned I can't shoot those words out and cut you deep and then expect you to be able to come back to me and we just start from where we are. It's not fair. It's not fair to the person. It's not fair. It's just not fair. So
Yeah.
that was me. One of the things that I learned to just, whew, okay, give me a day. Give me a day. Now if you try to pursue, you get what you get. I'm just saying. Just saying. No, just playing.
Yeah, sometimes we can fumble some stuff. Like we absolutely can. Sometimes the biggest fumble you can make is with people, right? Because you never know what you never know what relationships you could mess up and how you can impact the other person. I've had people tell me, "Oh, I fumbled you big time. Like, I wish, things had changed. I wish I would have done this a little bit better. I wish I would have been a little bit more vocal." And then I can honestly say I have fumbled some relationships too. Nah, no, I haven't. I fumbled some situations, not the relationship. So I'm a very appreciative person of of relationships. But there are certain situations that I fumbled. I could have done better in. And so the egregiousness of it can sometimes take the relationship to a low, right? Because people, if it's so big, it's difficult for others to bounce back from what you've done. Because just like you said, Brandy, I am that person. I get stuff off my chest, and once I get it off my chest, I'm fine. You want some cake? Like, I'll break up with you, and then the next minute I'll ask you if you want some cake.
She gonna ask me for some cake after that.
Let's go eat. And they're like, you just broke up with me, or you just said something to hurt my feelings. That was 5 minutes ago. You still on that? And so everybody, I have to learn that everybody doesn't think the way that this little beautiful crazy brain of mine works. And so, like, the older I get, I'm more mindful of that. I'm more mindful of my tongue because it's very quick. Okay, like you said, sarcasm is yours. Mine is sarcasm, but mine's just blatantness. Okay. And so I'm just gonna tell you like it is, but I'm learning to be better with that. And especially my kids help me because they're like, Mom, like, oh my God, like, could you please, like, they know they keep me together, okay? Because I will pop off. And it's not intentionally. I just want to make sure that I am advocating for myself. But can I advocate for myself in a better way that's not gonna make you feel like, girl, listen. Yes, I can. And so that's what I'm working on. But don't forget that, y'all. Don't fumble people. Don't fumble relationships because you just never know what that person or how that relationship can serve you in a different dynamic. So I know people who will break up with people and they never talk to them again. Like, I'm the type of person, if I loved you, that love is going to always be there. However, you might not have access to me in that same particular aspect in which you did. But I could still be cool with you. I could be cordial with you. Like, we can have some dinner, we can have a drink, but that's as far as it goes. You know what I'm saying? You are now in another box. You are now in another compartment. You don't get access to me in the romantical way, or you don't get access to me in a way in which I was this diehard friend, or you don't get access to me in that sisterhood way. But I still say, hey, what's up? How you doing? I still talk to you. I'm not going to be nasty to you. You can call me if you want to.
I don't think they want to, though.
I'm just not going to call you first. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to call you first, but you are welcome to call me. You can send me a text. I will respond back to you. But as far as initiating, I ain't doing it. Okay?
Tell them how you really feel, Alicia. Tell them how you really feel. Okay. So what's, as we kind of wrap this up, what's that final thing you would say to our audience about resiliency after going through like a detrimental relationship or having that hard space, again, personally, professionally, whatever it is? What advice would you give to our people out here about moving forward?
It can be done. Like, take a day. Take 24 hours to grieve the loss. And then after that, get yourself together. Go put some clothes on. Go take a shower. Clean yourself up. Make yourself look good. And then get back to the things that make you happy. Like 24 hours. If you're taking more than that, something is wrong. Like, you can't be crying over spilled milk. I know it sounds harsh. I know it does. But listen, the longer you stay in that funk, the longer you wallow in that, it's going to be that much harder to pull yourself out of it. But trust and believe you will pull yourself out of it, because trouble don't last always, right? And you're only going to be down for so long before God comes in and pull you up. If you don't have nobody else, God to do it. If you got a sister, a brother, cousin, mama, whoever, allow them to love on you so you can get back to the person who you was. Or if you don't want to be the person who you was, you can't establish a new normal for yourself. But take 24 hours to grieve. And when I say take 24 hours, I'm talking about take the whole 24 hours. If you want to go in your room and close yourself in there and you want to cry and eat ice cream and binge watch movies and turn your phone off and all of those things, go ahead and do that. Sit with yourself. 24 hours though. That's it. After that, get back to business. Get back to the art of being you. Because again, the longer you stay in it, it's going to take that much longer to pull yourself out of it. The more you stay active and the more you love on yourself, you are instilling that worth in yourself. And you're not allowing someone else to determine what your worth is, right? Because you was born in this world by yourself. You're going to go out by yourself. And let's be honest, all good things must come to an end. Every single one of them. Whether that is intentional or unintentional, by like death or something like that. But all things come to an end. It's not going to last. Nothing is going to last forever. So do yourself that favor. 24 hours, then get back to the business.
Yeah. I definitely would say focus on how you are handling yourself. The biggest thing that you can do for yourself is to love yourself completely. So after all is said and done, the one relationship you will never get away from is the one that you have with yourself. So you got to make sure that that one is in tip top shape. Learn yourself. As we grow, we evolve, we change. The things that you like at the beginning of the year might not be the same at the end of the year. So really get to learn yourself. Learn the new you, explore the new you, and begin to formulate your new routines based off this new version of you. Don't limit yourself to who you used to be. Learn to grow with yourself.
I laugh because when you say learn yourself, and anyone who knows who watches Living Single, there is an episode where she says, love yourself, learn yourself. And that's when Maxine and Regina are in the same class for self-love, but whatever. But I mean, that is number one is, and Cassandra says you can also use therapy to help, with that pull up as well. Absolutely. If you need help, with getting out of that hole, sometimes we can't do it by ourselves. Sometimes that hole is too deep. And so you can utilize therapy, and you can utilize your girls, right? Whoever it is that's in your space that, like Alicia said, that wants to love up on you, give yourself that time, but then allow those people to help you help yourself, because you can't do it alone, right? It hurts. It's hard no matter what the relationship is, and especially those intimate relationships that you've been with for a long time. The heart is involved. It hurts because you've gone through a lot of life experiences, and now you have to recreate a new normal. If you've been in the same space for a long time, you've had habits, you created habits, the pillow smells like that person, you get up, you're probably on the voicemail together, this person comes in the house every time at this certain time, and these things happen, and now those things don't happen anymore. So learning to, let the other people who are in your circle, who can fill your space, at least for, help you in that healing journey, welcoming them in and not shutting them out. Like you said, you need that time to yourself, and you're going to need probably even another 24 hours somewhere down the line by yourself.
Yeah, to wash that pillow that you talking about still smell like this. Why is the pillow still smelling like them? No. What? Wash that pillow. Wash the pillow out Go on down to Home Goods, get you a new set.
Yeah.
No.
Retch around and wrench it out. Right. Go ahead and get you, and that may be part of what you celebrate. You and your girls go get you a new set of everything. You
Yeah.
get ready, go clean that closet out, go scrub the past out of your space.
I
Right. So
hear
that
you
you can
all.
build for the future. But yeah, I think that's, use the people that want to love up on you, that are there to love up on you, that have been loving you through this situation all this time. Don't shut them out, because you're going to need them. And even if it's just to sit in a space quiet and let them hold you, or even just sit there and watch TV. And Alicia done already fattened us up with talking about eating ice cream and all this other stuff. But if that's what you need to do in that time, you do that. Right. And so I think that's the advice that I would give is use the people, or allow the people around you that love you to love on you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
I think that's the best closeout that we can give. Like seriously, I really
Yeah.
do.
Awesome. So we are, we got in deep this time. I love it. Talking about relationships, and we might have to come back on this, being somebody for others and not being who you truly are. That might be, what we do. But in the meantime, that kind of segues into, let's talk about what's going on with each other. That segues into my thing, because I got a webinar coming up on Tuesday about truly being who you are, right? Being authentically you. It's called Empower Your Superpower, Self-Awareness for Excellence. So, if you haven't already signed up, you can check on any of my social media. It's being blasted below. Follow me if you aren't already. But you can also sign up using the Zoom link that's in my bio for the webinar on Tuesday. Yeah, what you guys got?
I have a Black Friday sale coming up for my
Oh,
STEM boot camp. If you missed my webinar that happened this past Thursday, you missed a treat.
you
Okay.
did.
And I would say that I will give you the replay, but girl forgot to record.
She
Okay.
was
That's
too
okay.
excited. She was too excited.
Things happen. We were getting into some great things. And so, yeah, I'm a little bummed out because I wanted to share that with you guys, but it's okay, right? Because I know you'll make the next one. So I have a sale. It's $200 off the price of my STEM boot camp, which is called Cultural Lens STEM Boot Camp. It is a 4-week intensive program that is going to stematize you, get you ready, improve your professional practice, get your students energized and engaged in what's going on. You'll receive some coaching from me. You'll be able to learn from the community of practice of other like-minded individuals who want to infuse culturally relevant STEM practices into their classroom. And then, of course, you can always connect with me on social media. Below, you'll find those are, my business info is there. And then my IG account. If you don't already follow me on IG on the personal or the business side, make sure y'all do both. Okay, do the personal, because the personal has different things than the business, and do the business as well. And so that's going to give you a whole completeness. And before I go, I want to shout out some people who were talking to me in Facebook that I was so oblivious about. Okay, so I want to shout out Maggie. Hey, Maggie. She had a few comments to add, which were really great, and added great commentary.
You got excited.
And then also Vanessa, and then Sheree. So hi to you beauties, and thank you so much for tuning in and interacting with us.
Yes, I know Vanessa and Sheree. Hey, girl.
All righty.
All right, Esty, bring us down.
All right. So, if y'all were unable to catch my webinar that happened on Wednesday, it's all right. It's cool. I'll be having another one coming up real soon. But I wanted to let y'all know that I too am having a Black Friday sale. So please go on ahead and get to following the personal and the business side. If you do not follow arts.reach.consulting, make sure you are there. Tell your teacher friend because I am getting ready to do a winter cohort for the Reach to Teach cohort. Yes, I'm getting ready to help y'all integrate arts into your existing curriculum. So that means you don't have to go on and buy new stuff. You don't have to learn new material, but we're going to take the material that you already have and we're going to begin to infuse arts integration into what you are currently doing with your students. So if you know somebody who is having a little bit of trouble with their classroom management because their engagement is off. They need help building relationships with their students. We're going to increase their engagement through arts integration. We're going to take a look at their culturally responsive piece because all of it ties together. And we're also going to focus on the hard work that it takes to continue to show up to do this work because we all know being a teacher in 2023 can be very stressful. Yeah,
It's just a switch.
But it doesn't have to be though.
Doesn't have to be.
it have to
It doesn't
be.
have to
Get the
be.
right tools, it won't. It does not have to be. So if you know you need culturally relevant STEM, and you need what was yours again, SD, culturally relevant.
Yep, reach to teach, culturally relevant arts integration. We're gonna reach them so we can teach them because if they don't think you like them, you're not gonna be able to teach them nothing.
Boom.
You have to be able to reach them by building relationships because if you're not building relationships with them, they are not listening to you and you're not going to be able to teach them anything. So let's go on ahead and get it together. Hop on that Arts Reach Consulting page so that you can get all the info for when the winter cohort begins and grab your Black Friday discount. Okay.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And yes, like I said, I got a webinar. You'll get all the details about my Black Friday sale, but there's going to be a better sale if you come to my webinar. So if you have not done that yet, like we said, you need to sign up for that. But we thank you for coming out and sharing this time with us. I thank you all for, coming up on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Yeah,
All
all the avenues, right? And stick around, I should say come back in 2 weeks because we will be here, same place, same time, which is 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern time, and you will be sitting down with B.A.E. Again, that's Brandy, Alicia, and Esty. But until then, enjoy your week that is coming and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Bye.